It hasn't been a good year for police. Long-building pressures of police brutality, racial inequality, and fractured justice systems seem to have come to a head, spurring instances of senseless violence and provocation. When I hear about abuse, brutality, and/or racism by police, grief and anger burn me on two sides of the same coin. On one side, I'm a citizen who longs for a police force that will properly treat all members of the civilization it's sworn to protect. I abhor the ineffable pain felt by citizens and the families thereof who are abused and/or murdered by the assigned protectors. On the other side, I feel similar pain for the massive sums of officers who do their jobs the right way on a daily basis, genuinely working to protect and serve their communities, who get lumped in with their jackass colleagues. Treating police based on the stereotype that each of them is a short-tempered, racist murderer is just as bad as treating every priest as if he's a child molester, or every high school teacher like a statutory rapist, or even treating every black man like an armed gangster. Are there some people in each of those demographics for whom those accusations are accurate? Unfortunately, yes. But that doesn't make it fair to treat any entire demographic based on the behavior of a fraction of people therein, even if it's a large fraction. People need to be treated as individuals. I've seen several videos of citizens being confrontational with police as if that behavior is an appropriate solution. Don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful thing to know exactly what your rights are, and to not tolerate those rights being violated. However, if you feel your rights are being violated by authorities, it's for the best of your interest and your safety to challenge them through the appropriate channels, preferably in a courtroom. It's not in your best interest to treat police in a rude, confrontational, or aggressive manner in the field, no matter what your skin color is. While an overall racial bias against minorities is well documented, especially as of late, white people also get shot by the police, and white skin isn't bulletproof. So no matter what you look like, provoking armed authority figures under the false sense of security your cell phone camera seems to offer can get you tased or shot. That brings us to the video I'd like to address specifically, because it involves a great deal of ignorance that needs clarification. It's from an open-carry extremist who takes a walk through a public location with his rifle slung over his back in my home state of Michigan. High school administration saw a man walking around their campus with a gun and put the school on lockdown for student safety, reporting him to the police, asking them to keep the man off of their campus. The police promptly arrived to make sure he didn't attempt to enter the building, but they did not accost him. They showed up and watched him, remaining in their vehicles until he approached and accused them of stalking him. His whole video is linked in the description.
Hey, can I rest my hand on my gun?
Sir, do what you feel you need to do, sir.
Will you shoot me?
Do what you need to do.
Are you going to shoot me?
Sir, that's his personal choice, okay, number one.
Well,
okay, number two.
Time out. That shiny little bit. No, I'm talking now. That shiny little badge he's got on his chest doesn't give him any more rights than I have.
Okay, but we're not talking about that.
You all work for me and the taxpayers, right?
Okay. Okay. Well, so, I don't know what
you come over here with your hand on your gun. That's reason for me to think that you feel ill will towards me.
Sure.
If your intention is to push the limits of what is technically legal, then you must understand it is technically legal for an officer to rest his hand on his firearm, especially when the officers are in their squad cars without weapons drawn, just watching you and you confront them, raising your voice in an obvious possession of a firearm. The claim is made that a badge doesn't give an officer more rights than a citizen, which isn't entirely true. Officers do have rights to do some things that citizens do not. They earn those rights by going through training and taking qualification measures that civilians have not, and by receiving employment from a city or state which gives them authority. That also means they have more responsibilities than a civilian. I keep hearing this bullshit claim that because police are paid by our taxes, they work for citizens. That's only true in the sense that they are here to provide citizens with specific services, as it is true for anything that taxes fund. Your teachers, firefighters, Congress, road construction, and so forth. Your taxes fund them, so you are entitled to specific services from them. They don't work for you in the sense that they are your employees or that you're in charge of them. The president is paid for by your taxes, and his work is done in the interest of the people. But that doesn't mean he has to do what you say or that you have authority over him.
You know, and if I were to do the same thing, you'd probably pull your gun out and point it at me, am I right?
Sir, I'm trying to have a conversation.
No, I'm talking to you, tough guy. Yeah, we both know that badge you're wearing right there is, you know, you think gives you more rights than the average citizen that you supposedly work for. So you got your hand on your gun because it's comfortable, but we both know that if I were to do something similar, you guys would pull your guns on me and maybe even shoot me.
That's an assumption, right?
Well, I'm assuming.
You're assuming, but you don't know. But you don't know.
So here's a frequent problem in videos like this. It's fine to be concerned and untrusting of the police, and I understand they don't have a great reputation, and I don't have an abundance of trust for the average officer I encounter. But this civilian has chosen to already assume that if he were to rest his hand on his own gun, that the police would draw their weapons and aim at him. And he's accusing them of hypocrisy for something they haven't even done. He's accusing them of hypocrisy based on his assumption. He did the same thing by assuming these officers were on some kind of power trip based strictly from being cops. At no point in their interaction had they been rude or condescending, but he chose to treat them as if they had been, just because they were officers. This is no better than racial profiling or using any negative stereotype of one's demographic against them in an argument. If you're walking around a school with a rifle and approach the police with it, they have every right to rest a hand on a holster. It would almost be foolish if they weren't, or at least one of them weren't, ready to draw some kind of weapon on you if needed. I commend them for remaining professional here, even if it was just because they were being filmed.
What I do know is that you guys kill people across America every day of the week.
I work for Madison. I kill people across America.
You're all culpable. Okay. You wear that badge and you all hide behind your thin blue line, okay? And you think that it gives you more rights than the average citizen.
The phrasing of that accusation is unacceptable, and the officer handled it very well. This civilian claimed, "What I do know is that you guys kill people across America." And some police have indeed killed American citizens, no doubt. To consider that grounds to claim that these officers have done so is absurd, though. I'm a high school teacher, and this civilian's claim about these officers is just as prejudiced and ignorant as it would be for him to claim that I have sex with teenage students, just because across the country those incidences have happened with teachers. When the officer explains that he hasn't done so, the answer is they're all culpable and hiding behind their badges. It's an unreasonable position that only extends the gap between civilians and legal authorities and makes you look more like an ignorant asshole. Don't do that.
The school administrators have advised us they do not want you on their property.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm asking you a question. Is that not a taxpayer-funded school?
It doesn't mean it's open to the public. It means that's a public school.
Oh, it is open to the public. If the taxpayers pay for it,
hear me out.
It's not. You can't trespass someone from a publicly owned facility. That's just ludicrous.
Unless they tell you they don't want you.
No, they don't have the authority to tell the taxpayers they can't fucking exercise their rights. All right, and neither do you.
The fact that public schools are paid for by taxes doesn't make them public property. Just like paying taxes for police and teachers doesn't make them your employees, the public is entitled to the specific services offered by a school. Most mission statements, as approved by public school boards, boil down to a school's job being to educate students, unless you are a faculty member of the school system, registered guest, or an enrolled student. You don't get to just stroll around the school whenever and wherever you want, and you sure as hell don't get to do it with a firearm. Antagonizing police and baiting them into confrontation isn't going to help the problems we have with them in this country. Police are essential for our society. When we need to call on them, we're glad we have them. If we didn't have the ability to call on them, we'd need them even more. I'm not saying you have to be subservient and blindly trusting of everyone with a badge either, but in the interest of protecting them and protecting yourself, if you're not guilty, don't act like it. And if the police don't have a reason to put their hand on their guns around you or follow you to begin with, don't go out of your way to give them one. Lastly, if you're an advocate for concealed or open carry of firearms, this is exactly the kind of behavior that weakens, not bolsters your cause.